Do we need to restart the video?
Just checking.
Okay. Otherwise, we can launch into.
Welcome, everyone, to our virtual Fireside Chat from Lahore to Adelaide, a dialogue on the future of international student mobility. I'm thrilled to have two distinguished people with us today, Salim Rahman, who shall be moderating today's event, alongside a very special guest from Flinders University in Adelaide, South Australia, Sebastian Raneskold. Allow me to formally start by introducing our moderator for today's Fireside Chat. Salim Rahman is a remarkable engineer and entrepreneur with over 17 years of experience in various fields spanning 3 continents. He has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Industrial Engineering and Operations Management from Purdue University in the United States, and an MBA from INSEAD in France and Singapore. His expertise spans across the business, logistics management, and information technology sectors. He has worked with well-known companies such as Applied Materials, Lowe's, and UPS. Mr. Rahman is fluent in multiple languages, including English, Urdu, Punjabi, and French. He currently serves on the board of several organizations, such as Fatah Memorial Hospital, Noor Foundation, Noor Enterprises, Noor International University, Khairun Nisa Hospital, and the Lum Center for Entrepreneurship. He has been on the board of Emco Industries since 2010. Welcome to the show, sir. Our honored and distinguished guest today is Sebastian Raneskold, the Vice President and Pro Vice-Chancellor International at Flinders University. He has been leading the university's international strategy since 2016, driving strong outcomes and rich student experiences across international recruitment and admissions, international partnerships in education and research, transnational education, student mobility, partnerships in education and research, sponsored student programs, and international student services. Sebastian has extensive industry expertise in leadership, strategic business development, marketing and sales, international relations, and stakeholder collaboration. He previously held leadership positions at the Navitas Group, the University of South Australia, IDP Education Australia, and the Örebro University in Sweden. He is a graduate of social anthropology and political science, and he holds a master's degree in social anthropology from Stockholm University. Sebastian is the honorary consul of Sweden, supporting Swedish interests and providing consular support to the Swedish community of South Australia. He sits on numerous Flinders University committees, including Academic Senate, and is a member of several professional bodies. He has also served as a member of the Ministerial Advisory Committee for International Education in South Australia and the Adelaide Lord Mayor's Cultural Think Tank. I welcome you, sir. I'm excited to hear from both of our guests on the future of international student mobility and what we can expect in the years to come. So without further ado, let's begin our discussion.
Thank you very much, Josefa. Sebastian, welcome to the show again. Josefa, thank you for the very kind introductions for myself and Sebastian as well. Sebastian, if you allow, for the benefit of our viewers, I'd just like to quickly point out that we've lost a key team member on both sides. She was acting at the bridge between the Innovative Research Universities Group, IRU, there in Australia, and a lot of Pakistani universities, including ours. The lady was Sabi Qayyum. Unfortunately, she was the one who set up this fireside chat originally. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. We lost her in a fairly young age. So I'd just like to take a moment of silence and to recognize the services that she's rendered, and then we'll formally kick off the event. Thank you. Thank you all for participating in that moment of silence. Sebastian, again, thank you for joining us on behalf of Noor International University. One of our key motivations here at being a Beaker Center of Higher Education in Pakistan has been the challenges that Pakistan faced in recent times, as well as in the past, we're a growing nation. Our recent census puts us at almost 235 million people. We have a great bulge of youth, and therefore it's a pleasure and a privilege for us to be operating in the higher education space. Nonetheless, we do realize, sitting here in Pakistan, that there are a lot of challenges facing us as a university and Center for Higher Education. One of them being research, the other, or meaningful research, not just research for the sake of research, and the other one being access to opportunities for our students as they pursue their academic careers, and then, of course, their professional careers. And that's one of the reasons that we are chatting with somebody like Flinders and yourself, who's heading up international affairs for Flinders University. I'd just like you to elaborate, please, if possible, Sebastian, the benefits of international partnerships and collaborations that you've seen, and how they can promote education and research activities across two universities in such a setting. So over to you.
Thank you, Salim, and again, it's a pleasure for me to join you and everybody online to discuss further today. And can I also thank you for the warm words of Sabi. We do miss Sabi, and she was a wonderful advocate for us in Pakistan, and I had many very positive interactions with Sabi. She also came to visit us here in Adelaide, so indeed missing her very much. International partnership for us here at Flinders are critical, and I guess in many ways in higher education, international partnerships has formed a part of higher education for a very long time, and perhaps always. But I try and think about it in a few different ways. We distinguish a bit between collaborations and partnerships. So, you know, we should have a plethora of collaborations, and particularly our academics, and that should be free from too much intervention and bureaucracy or policy, if you like, so that the collaborations from one-on-one to can flow freely and be supported in the best possible way. But as you advance those types of collaborations, there is often a need to formalize it a little bit. And at some point, it might be a research unit to research unit, and then it goes maybe up at faculty level or institute level. And at some point, it becomes university-wide. At that point, you kind of need a little bit more structure around it. And that's where we kind of move into the more strategic, formal partnership thinking, right? So I in my role, I'm trying to, and we have something we call I guess it's a kind of a model that helps us and helps our staff and colleagues across the university to get support to drive international collaboration, but without overlaying too much, I guess, bureaucracy for them. So an international collaboration model, if you like, something we have developed internally here to stimulate a growth in partnerships. What we see in partnerships, when you start thinking more formal partnerships, I'd like to think that at times we are very tempted to seek out those that are also good in the same area that we are good in, and to advance your whether it's education or research. At other times, it's perhaps more challenging and interesting to seek the sort of more complementarity in the partnership, right? So together we bring different strengths to the partnership, but there always have to be mutuality in a partnership. This has to mean something for both partners. So those are some of the principles that we have here at Flinders to try and drive our international partnerships. Okay. And yeah, so as an intro, I hope that helps.
It certainly does. And I think for the benefit of our students and faculty members listening, part of the reason that we are looking to join hands with more established universities in developed countries in particular is to get access to world-class academics, world-class research, and partnerships for, and as an example, and again, I'll draw on some things that we discussed with Sabi in our last interaction, unfortunately, before she left us, was that Australia in particular, I know, is very focused on environmental considerations, water scarcity, agriculture and agri-tech, which healthcare as well. And a lot of those areas can be covered under areas such as public health, environmental engineering, or environmental consideration, offering such things. So we really feel that there's momentum that Flinders may have in certain areas, which we could certainly capitulate upon and leverage as we move forward. It's our first interaction here on a fairly broad level, and we can certainly drill down into some of the areas that we may choose to focus on. In the meantime, Sebastian, we do also want to focus on student mobility, and I'd like to hear from you with regards to your experience managing international students who may be considering Flinders University. I know that you offer diverse range of programs. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit about the Flinders Plaza, the new campus which is coming in Australia, and what are some of the areas of focus that you feel international students, let's say from Pakistan, who are either considering graduate degrees or perhaps somewhere in the future we can consider exchange programs, cross-pollination of students. Would you like to spell out some opportunities that you feel may be on the cards?
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, Flinders has 50 plus history here in Australia and in Adelaide, and has always been based at our main campus here called Bedford Park, which is about 20 minutes by train from the city centre. And over the years, we've had various teaching locations in the city centre. So a couple of years ago, we made a strategic decision as a university to substantially expand our footprint within Adelaide to effectively open a second large campus, but this time right in the city centre. And interestingly, over the years, the state government has also expanded a rail network. So we are now finding ourselves in a very exciting situation of having in the city centre is our new city campus, also Flinders Plaza, opening January 24. And then you take the train halfway towards our campus here, about 10 minutes train ride. You can get off at our Tonsley campus, an innovation district, engineering, a really creative, industry-heavy campus of ours. And then you continue the train to the mother campus, if you like, Bedford Park. So this transformation has been 5, 6, 7 years in the making, but it's really bringing together Flinders University very nicely now. And I think from a student perspective, we now have all sorts of choices for students. Whether you want a traditional campus just outside of the city with on-campus accommodation, a beautiful environment, views out over the ocean, whether you want to be in an industry innovation district or whether you want to be right in the city center studying. And there are pros and cons. You live in the city, you have closeness to part-time work, but it is busier, you're out on campus. So the choice for students are really good. We're also looking at really a targeted range of programs in the city. So programs that require, heavy laboratories or heavy equipment will not move into the city. There might be parts of those programs in the city, but otherwise they stay at either Bedford Park or Tonsley. But some other programs that have heavy industry engagement, business engagement, perhaps even engagement with local government or NGOs, they really will benefit from the proximity of being in a CBD location. and everything that an inner city environment has to offer, that does attract a lot of students. But it's important that we maintain that choice, because for many years, Flinders has been very successful in attracting international students to come and study at our beautiful campus here, and we don't want to take that away either. So it's about adding value for prospective students, really.
Makes sense. Thank you, Sebastian, for narrating upon that. Perhaps in my next question, I'll just lay out for you the current landscape of Noor International University's programs, and perhaps you can pick and choose certain things which may be of interest to our students if they potentially consider a transition or a follow-up degree at Flinders. So currently, Noor International University's focus remains, let's say, allied health sciences and applied sciences, in core, let's say, healthcare-oriented physiotherapy, nutrition, psychology. So if you could possibly review on your end, what are the sort of professional offerings that could be used by students? We have an MBA program, for example, just kicked off really last year. That's an add-on for a lot of our healthcare-oriented students who wish to pursue a graduate degree, which is not as a non-professional degree per se. Could you think off the top of your head what Flinders can offer in terms of opportunities, either for our graduates or those who may be looking to transition onto Flinders as a potential choice?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. We do have, I was talking about complementarity or similarity in partnerships, and there is actually a lot of similarity in our program structure. We also have a very strong offering in the allied health space. We have a full medical school, but also which is in a faculty separate from the allied health area and the stream of nursing. So having had those operations for quite a long time, we have a lot of expertise in the allied health area. So I would think that there would be an opportunity for your students to consider some specializations. And when you kind of look beyond the if you like, the master degrees, there is also a range in Australia of more specialized, shorter qualifications. So graduate certificate, graduate diplomas, and that, and I think that's a little bit the way in professionally accredited programs for a workforce that continuously have to upskill, to look at shorter qualifications. For international students coming to Australia, a formal qualification still is sought after and necessary from, I think, a practical visa perspective as well. But in principle, in that professional field, we are seeing a lot more drive towards shorter qualification, and perhaps even for opportunities for us to consider would be down the track around micro-credentials in the area of allied health. I look at some of the expertise that we have, and we've got a lot of strong research around it. It's also healthy aging. I guess we have what we call our Caring Futures Institute, who looks to really, I guess, lift the way we think about care more broadly, right? So what does it mean to not wait until you need care, but to be more preemptive in the work around general health and well-being? So so I think that specialized expertise and qualifications that we have that would build upon what the students have completed with you would be one area of collaboration. Traditionally, Pakistani students tends to go towards when they come to Flinders, I should say, tends to study in the engineering or computing or IT field. That's about 50% of our students that choose those areas. But you mentioned the MBA. We have our MBA, and that's the second most popular study area for Pakistani students at Flinders at the moment. But then, as always, we have it's great to see a trail of areas that students are finding interesting. Environmental management is one that we have a few Pakistani students being attracted to. And then the allied health area, as I mentioned, and even into the creative industries and the media. We have some students choosing to study there as well. So I guess being a comprehensive university, for your students upon completion of an undergraduate qualification, whether they would want to consider to complement their undergraduate degree with an alternative master's degree is another area of opportunity for us. And one, if I'm thinking kind of out loud, a third option is, of course, to look at combining. Students can do some time with you and some time with us for either a dual qualification, or there are so many of those partnership models that we can explore as well. And that's a nice thing when you have not the complementary course offerings, but actually quite similar course offerings, that there is an opportunity to explore collaborations there as well.
Thank you, Sebastian,
so that's just something on the top of my mind that we can explore.
Perfect. I think what you talked about in terms of allied health and micro-credentialing, I like that term, micro-credentialing. We've recently also launched a few shorter courses, diploma programs, anywhere from 4 weeks, right straight up to a year worth of diploma, which could be modular and build up towards, let's say, degree offerings should somebody be already in the professional field, looking to upskill, upgrade their skills, or to perhaps pivot to an area which may require additional credentialing. And with it becoming a global village, I think the opportunities for transitioning to geographies, and I know that healthcare, of course, all over the world tends to be a fairly, let's say, license-oriented or regulated. Regulated structure. We also have a full-fledged medical school and a school of dentistry, nursing. So nursing is, by the way, another program that we are launching. Hopefully the final approvals will come in, and we'll be starting in the fall. We do already have a nursing offering, undergrad nursing programs. That may be an opportunity. The Caring Futures Institute is something which would be of great interest. I think geriatric care, we in the medical side and the hospital, which is affiliated with us, they have a specialty in pediatric care, and we are now wanting, obviously, wherever there is a population bulge, eventually these people will grow old, and it will require hand-holding and personal support. So the option of Caring Futures, the Institute, would definitely be something which would be of interest. And of course, as we work further on this thread that we've opened up, we will certainly be sharing with our students progress that we make in terms of joint offerings or full transitions, as the case may be. If I could segue a little bit, Sebastian, into some of your personal thoughts with regards to current challenges in international universities and those what the university is facing in today's changing world post-COVID. We've seen a shift. I think people are reconsidering, perhaps wanting to engage in longer programs, wanting to engage, let's say, hybrid programs. How do you find yourself in particular as being in this education field for some time, and how is Flinders adapting to these challenges that are now facing us?
Thank you. I mean, it's a complex question, but indeed, I mean, starting at the beginning, I think there is always going to be a need for building your education from an individual perspective. People are continue to invest in their ongoing learning. It's how are people doing that, and the role of universities as issuing, I guess, a qualification and quality assure that qualification, I think will remain. Now we need not to be complacent in what our role is in doing so. And it's clear to me that there is, I guess, knowledge creation through our research. But we don't own that space. We are one of the knowledge creators. Industry is, of course, creating a lot of knowledge as well. But it's there somewhere around the certification of acquiring the knowledge. The universities, I think, will continue to have a role. Our form of delivery, I think, is where most people are thinking that there's a lot of change at the moment, and all of us experienced the rapid changes we were forced to make during COVID. And I think, if I look specifically at Flinders did a really good job in pivoting to what we called emergency online teaching, right? It really was that, not a strategic move at the time, but it opened up the eyes. It changed academics' thoughts around what online delivery could be. Some were very comfortable with that rapid shift, others not so. That's to be expected, a large organization. But it's given us in strategically an imperative to start looking at the more various delivery modes. And already today, even in the infrastructure at the university, the physical infrastructure, we are not building large lecture halls anymore. We're not building in the city campus Festival Plaza. We are not building lecture theaters for 400 students. We are building collaboration spaces and learning spaces that students can. We don't decide how the students want to collaborate and learn. We create flexible space that students themselves create a learning environment in. And that's quite important. And with that comes the delivery. Obviously, most students now follow our large-scale lectures online, but really benefit from tutorials and smaller group work. So there's been a shift there already. And then you kind of add a stronger online component. So that's from a kind of a domestic Australian perspective. If I then look at it from what do we do internationally, that gets then quite complex. And Flinders has been involved in what we call T&E delivery for a very long time. So transnational education. We deliver programs in Singapore. We deliver programs with a partner in Singapore, with a partner in China. We have 1,500 students enrolled in professional programs, master programs in Tianjin with Nankai University. And so and over the years, it's our qualification. It's a Flinders degree delivered by Flinders academics to a large extent that fly to China or Singapore, so that transnational education, I think, it opens up a lot of opportunities for us, where we can combine that with more hybrid models, always subject to what various countries' regulators say about what is allowed and not allowed. And similarly, we have to stay attuned to the Australian regulator for any delivery of programs. So, but it's certainly not it's a moving environment where innovation and creativity really pays off. And I think that's the space we're in at the moment. And from an international perspective, we have a new strategy we call Collaboration for Impact. And this Collaboration for Impact strategy focuses on developing what we call micro campuses or clusters of academic expertise. We have our first one in Singapore, and it's a collaboration, not just university to partner, but university, partner, local government, and corporates, and finding a platform to deliver qualifications as well as micro-credentials online and or face-to-face. So a much more complex model, and which also puts, I guess it's ways of making that viable as well. You know, the actual business models and financial models needs to evolve as well. So very exciting time. And I don't think I have all the answers, but one thing is for certain, standing still and doing what we did before only is probably not going to reward us great hopes for the future, I think. So really being able to think and look at what the needs are, and what the wants are in international education today. Some students are looking for the opportunity to come to Australia, other students and do a degree and whatever comes after that. These days we have very generous what we call post-study work rights. You complete a degree at Flinders and you can have up to I think it's up to 5 years of post-study work rights, depending on qualification, and possibly an additional year because of the rating of Adelaide as particularly from an immigration perspective. So that presents enormous opportunities for students that seek that. But if you're in a job and you want to progress your career in your home country, and particularly around a professional accredited degree, or then leaving family, children to move to Australia might not be the option. So we have a great opportunity to bring our courses, our education, and our I guess brand also to people that seek those qualifications.
Fantastic.
Without wanting to move. So.
Lovely. Thank you, Sebastian. I think, again, very insightful. I think this the transnational program, which I know was mentioned in your introduction, is something which you've spearheaded at Flinders. It's something which we would love to work on further with here at Noor International University. Our PVC, Dr. Najma Najam, I see, is actually messaged that we are shooting for a master's in gerontology, which is being planned probably fall or spring in the upcoming program, of course, subject to our regulators' approval. But I think what you said, what you touched upon in terms of, again, micro credentialing and micro academic structures in terms of clusters, that's something that we recently have really dug our heels down in and approached the industry to make sure that our degree offering is aligned with A, market expectations, and B, in terms of expectations matching the students who may or may not want to pursue careers just in Pakistan. Why restrict them? We need to really give them a global offering and the ability to be better set up for, again, credentialing themselves in the relevant field in any global international setting, including Australia, where I know there's the Pakistani diaspora is fairly active in the Australian market. So there could be a lot of hand-holding there. And of course, we would love to take that offline from you as we move forward. So collaboration for impact, I think, is something that we greatly feel working with local governments, again, primarily on the healthcare and education initiatives. Noor International has been on the forefront through its Center for Research and Policy to try and assist local governments, provincial governments, and even the federal governments, at least in the realms of healthcare and education, where we can offer opportunities for, again, meaningful research to help question some of the regulatory matters which are coming up for proper stakeholder input. And again, I think we can learn from Flinders' experience in the relevant field to move forward. I know we're touching up against time. One question I think which I would love to ask you. My wife has an undergraduate degree in anthropology, and I know you have a master's degree in social anthropology. Would you be able to dilate a little bit upon, let's say, understanding cultural differences in international education and how Flinders and yourself in particular have incorporated this into your approach in global partnerships as well as student recruitment? What's been your particular experience?
Well, I think, I mean, personally, I've having studied social anthropology, both undergraduate, postgraduate, has helped me enormously in my interactions with people and kind of adopting a view, an ability to put myself in the other person's shoes, if you like, to try and see things not just from my own perspective, but from those that I collaborate with. And it comes back to that principle of mutuality, you know. So that's more a personal reflection on it. From a Flinders perspective, we have our values, but we also have an ethos in the university, and that ethos is student-centered. So for us at the university, when we design a course, when we think about a new development, we think about it from the perspective of the student, and I think, you know, that's similar from that. It's almost like the participant observation, basic social anthropological concept. You put yourself in the student's perspective. How would the students look at this? What do we, you know, and so the student-centric view that we remind ourselves of, a lot of universities say it, we say it, but I think we do it, and we live that ethos at the university. So that's the link, I think. I mean, I'm not the one who has created the student-centered ethos, but it's something that resonates very well with me, with my background, and the way I drive our portfolio. Flinders continues to be highly regarded and ranked #1 among students in student support. In Flinders University, the International Student Services area belongs to my portfolio. Most other universities haven't got that model. They used to have that model, but they have streamlined all student service into a single point. With us, we maintain a unique international student service that works hand in hand with the broader student service delivery of the university, but acknowledges and recognizes that our focus is on students that come from all over the world with varying sets of beliefs, values, and we all come together in one location, and that is a unique support skill to deliver that. And to have the understanding, to have a careful arm around those students they do require, there is, for all of us, as we move between the familiar and the unfamiliar, a level of adjustment period. And that's what we are here to assist students with. So that is an example of, I guess, the student-centric views we have. And, you know, I defend the value of having a specific international student service embedded in your operation. My admissions team work daily with international student services to effectively translate admissions practice with a cultural lens, if you like, recruitment practice, partnerships. When we sit in the room and we have the partnerships director, the recruitment director, the admissions director, and the service director, that's a powerful grouping to ensure that we meet the expectations of those students that choose Flinders. So I think anthropology, social anthropology, I should say, for me, it really relates to that concept. Trying to understand it from the needs of the other.
Makes sense. Thank you, Sebastian, again for dilating, and I'm happy to hear the specific focus on international students and probably hand-holding that needs to start at the, well, I guess the recruitment time and then blend over into
all the way.
And
it's great to see. It's great to see once students have arrived, gotten into the groove of things, then I guess in many ways that's a milestone for those students that have taken the big brave step to move from one country to the other, and then they have a less need for the specialist service, and they They walk and talk Flinders like any other student, and that's rewarding to see as well. So.
Certainly. Thank you for sharing that. I think here at NIU, even though we don't have per se an international student body, we do recognize that for a lot of students who are coming from high school, entering an institution of higher education can be can lead to certain pressures. And I think our psychology department has set up counseling services along with student affairs, offer hand-holding services for people, for parents as well, who wish to see their child or children succeed, and for the child or student themselves to be able to tackle the demands and rigor of undergraduate and graduate education. I'll encourage those of you, in case if you have any questions, to pose it on the Facebook live session, or our moderators will pitch it to us. I'll just pose one last question to Sebastian, and in case we have any questions, we'll take them at that time. Sebastian, it's a great segue into this particular query, and again, for the benefit of the students, I'm going to ask, what advice do you think you'd like to give to prospective students who are considering studying abroad, whether at Flinders or anywhere else, and how can they better prepare themselves for this experience generally?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think do your research. Try and get under the skin of the institution that you are researching. Are you thinking? You know, there's the course, it's the location, it's the university. What matters to you? Is it the ranking? Is it the price? Is it the employment outcome? Is it the ability to stay in the country you're going to? Is it the ability to connect with industry that perhaps have connections back in Pakistan, which will enable you to, should you wish to return, have an ability to have some advantage already. I mean, so I guess I encourage a broad, complex approach to it, and try and ask yourself, and perhaps have the conversation with others, what really matters to you. If you want to do engineering, IT, business, for argument's sake, we take those. You know, most universities have good programs. Most good universities have good programs like that. So you're not going to find a lot of differentiation there. You got to dig deeper. You got to ask deeper questions, and that takes a bit of time. But it is one of the bigger decisions to decide to invest both money and time and commitment to study overseas. So do your research and ask those questions early on. Talk to others. What matters?
Thank you, Sebastian. I think that's excellent advice, and I think let's be honest to current students, prospective students. They are taking out for an undergraduate program typically 4 years, 4 prime time years of their lives. So spending a little bit of time up front to discover yourself, and very honestly, not in a bad way, but to be selfish. To be selfish in terms of asking yourselves what you want from the university, what you want from the geography that you're wanting to enter. And I do realize for a lot of students, these are questions that may not come up naturally in their minds, but they have to do a reset from amongst themselves in terms of how they wish to approach. Again, I think there's very few pivots that life creates. This is one pivot that you're fully in control of. In terms of creating a pivot. Another one perhaps for students looking at graduate degrees, that could be another pivot created. We'll quickly pick up a couple of questions from the audience. So the question is, Flinders has a dedicated program for allied health sciences. Does the international job market seem to reflect the need for having more allied health professionals?
That's a wise question, and I'd say so. So I presume this question relates to the Pakistani job market. presumably. And obviously, it's hard for me to comment on that, but broadly speaking, allied health, I mean, we are oversubscribed for our allied health courses. We have quotas we can't take very many students. It is a regulated profession. It requires placements, which our healthcare system is quite overloaded. So the ability to get clinical placement limits the number of students we can take into our programs. But our students get jobs after. And if we look at the focus on health, I mean, public health particularly following the pandemic, but across the allied health, physiotherapy, we look at, and even in nutrition and dietetics, and you look at the waiting times that people have for getting appointments into the allied health profession, just for patient appointments, I guess reflects a shortage of practitioners. So I'd say it's a very attractive field, but the first barrier is to get into the program, because that's also competitive, and I imagine it's equally competitive for you, and high demand, low, not so much capacity. So,
correct. I'll completely echo your sentiment here, Sebastian. I think the fact of the matter is, post-pandemic, there's been a plethora of jobs, I think, for allied health professionals, whether it be we do respiratory therapy, for example, and I know the Middle East in particular and the UK have picked up a lot of respiratory therapists, intensive care specialists. Medical lab technology has suddenly picked up in the world. Imaging has picked up in the world with regards to CT scans and imaging that's there in the healthcare field. So I think there's a global let's say, a touch point which has been rediscovered by virtue of an opportunity which was created, sadly, due to the pandemic, but it is an opportunity for students. The next question, I'll quickly paraphrase a little bit. Somebody asked that you mentioned their MBA is the second most popular area for students, and with concentrations of field around traditional means of education, do you provide pre-admission career counseling or guidance to students showing better alternative paths, similar to what you said, that students need to be selfish? Would there be opportunities that Flinders may have for from the recruitment side, as they're recruiting for people to be fielding questions about what their careers may look like at the end of particular programs?
Yeah, so this goes. I mean, I have a colleague online here as well, Kanishka, and he would be in the position as a pre-admission for a student who hasn't yet started the university. If you haven't started the university, you talk to our marketers or our recruiters, and they are either in country or online, or working through our agents or our representatives in Pakistan and elsewhere. And we have, of course, also Maham, our Flinders staff member, based in Pakistan. So conversations with our staff like that, or our representatives, can give a level of indication on what the opportunities are from a career perspective, acknowledging that at times there is, at the time of inquiry, and if you're an undergraduate student and you want to look into, it's a 3 or 4 year degree, things can change as well. So inherently, advice at that early stage is quite generic. As you get into the program, as you experience work integrated learning, placements within industry, placements, you start shaping up your understanding. And of course, you have access to career counseling from within the university. So I'd say it's kind of a staged approach a bit, but I don't know if Kanishka wants to add anything or if Maham is online here. But I think that's probably the extent to which we can talk about, in the true sense, pre-admission career counseling. So.
Lovely, and I think we briefly interacted with Maham on email as we set up for this particular conversation, and I think we'll probably engage Maham for the benefit of our students and ongoing conversation with Flinders. I do note we are pretty much at time for our session.
Oh, we are at time.
And we generally try and make sure that we let our guests go, and of course our audience as well. We don't want to have a very long-winded session, but I think it's been extremely helpful for myself. I hope it's been for you as well, Sebastian, and for those who were listening in to us today. In case there are any other questions that you may have with regards to Flinders, Maham should probably be a contact person. We can definitely give the contact information for her. And Sebastian, from our side at Noor International University, first I'd like to thank you for your time, and for Kanishka in particular for helping orchestrate this from your side, and to Josefa from our side. I think there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes in making this relatively short conversation happen. I do wish to keep the lead warm, and we'll certainly discuss opportunities offline in terms of what areas of collaboration we can explore further between Flinders and Noor International, both in terms of programs, short courses, faculty exchange. Anything can be on the cards. And I think we do give our faculty and administration a relatively free hand, like you said, to flesh out opportunities. And then once we pick up a thread, we can pick up on both sides, of course, keeping regulatory matters and administration on both sides adequately appeased and happy.
That sounds good. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sebastian. I think we'll formally close the session for our viewers. Sebastian, if you'd just like to stick around, we can have a quick chat.
Sure. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thanks. And it was great to learn more about Noor International University as well. So looking forward to keep the conversation